story begins with Rafi, a very beautiful woman who is feeling somewhat sad as she tells her therapist, Lisa, that she has already signed the divorce papers. However, Lisa tells her that it is normal to feel sad about her failed marriage. She should focus on the bright side. She is now a free woman and should concentrate on the present and pursue her happiness. Not too far away, we meet Dave, a young painter who is accompanying his friend Morris on a new adventure. As always, Dave is the good friend who is there to help Morris and ends up in trouble. Though he has always wondered why Morris only goes after girls who are clearly out of his league. Morris, who brought a gift for the girl, ends up having it thrown back in his face when she rejects him, telling him he's too ugly to date. This causes the girl's brothers to become furious and chase Morris through the street. Luckily, Dave had already started the car, and the friends managed to escape unscathed. Later on, Morris drops Dave off at the movie theater, where Dave has a date that night. While waiting for the girl, he bumps into Randall, an old high school friend, who introduces him to Rafi and Catherine. A few seconds later, Michelle, Dave's date, appears, and upon seeing him, gives him a kiss on the lips, making it clear to everyone that they are a couple. After that, everyone goes in to watch the movie, but Dave stays in the restroom. By the time he heads to the theater, the door is locked because the show has already started. Meanwhile, Rafi has had exactly the same thing happen, and now both of them are in the hallway. This gives them a bit of time to talk. Although Rafi is much older than Dave, he can't take his eyes off her. She is very beautiful, and he tells her so with a compliment. After the movie ends, Dave makes up an excuse to get rid of Michelle and goes back home to check the yellow pages for Rafi's phone number. After a few tries, he finally hears her voice on the other end of the line. Even though his nerves get the better of him for a moment, he musters up the courage to invite her out. Surprised by his sincerity, Rafi tries to think about the right response. Ultimately, she decides to take a risk and accepts the invitation, excited. The following night arrives quickly, and the date begins at a very pretty Italian restaurant, one that Rafi used to visit with her ex-husband. Davey, who is young and honest, is full of funny anecdotes that make Rafi feel much more comfortable and ease the fact that she hasn't been on a date in years. Afterwards, Dave plans to buy some beers, since it's his turn to take Rafi to one of his favorite places. However, the topic changes when the cashier asks him for ID, and Rafi discovers that she's not just a bit older than Dave. The age difference is 15 years. The young man tells her to stop thinking about numbers. They have a connection, and it's time to see where it takes them. A few minutes later, after jumping a fence, Dave takes Rafi to a secret garden where the evening continues until very late into the night. The next morning, Rafi can't help but smile broadly as she talks with Lisa during her therapy session. She tells Lisa all about her date, which ended in a passionate kissing session. Lisa overflows with happiness at hearing that one of her favorite patients has found a bit of joy. She, more than anyone, knows everything Rafi endured in her previous marriage, and seeing her so content is wonderful. With her therapist's approval, who urges her to enjoy life a little, Rafi decides to keep going out with Dave. Even though she knows that nothing serious might come of it, she is feeling a spark of excitement, and that's already a big deal after so much sadness. Things change the next day when we discover that Lisa is Dave's mother. But since Rafi has not shared any details about her new boyfriend with Lisa, and Dave does not discuss his relationships with his mother, Lisa still has no idea. On the other hand, Lisa knows her son is seeing someone and only begs him to make sure she's Jewish, as the family's very devout, and Lisa has always wanted to find a decent match for her son. Dave lies to his mother and says that his new partner is only a year older than he is. Because of that, Lisa doesn't put the pieces together and remains unaware of what is happening. Meanwhile, Dave and Rafi spend more and more time together. She shows him the virtues of classical music, and with every kiss, Dave makes her feel more alive than ever. Days pass, and Rafi becomes more and more immersed in this new relationship with Dave, who is also determined to throw himself fully into it, leading them to spend the night together. Lisa can't believe the incredible change she's seen in Rafi. Rafi is very happy, and for the first time in her life, feels a deep connection with someone. That's when she shares a few details about Dave, and Lisa finally realizes that her son is her patient's boyfriend. As fast as she can, she ends the session with Rafi and is now clueless about what to do to get her son away from her. Rafi isn't Jewish and is much older than Dave. something that would be hugely embarrassing for their family and religion. Because of this, Lisa starts going to therapy herself to figure out how to handle the situation, since her commitment to her patients is very important to her. Her therapist advises Lisa to let them continue their relationship, believing that it's most likely going to end soon and that both will move on. 1 week goes by, and in the next therapy session, Lisa has to listen as Rafi confesses that, for the first time in 9 years, she has had an orgasm and has never felt so alive. Because Rafi doesn't know the connection between her therapist and her boyfriend, she spends the next few minutes of the session talking about all the great sex she's had lately, while Lisa squirms, listening to every detail of her son's talents. Although the situation makes Lisa infinitely uncomfortable, she remains professional and advises Rafi as best she can. That night, Dave takes Rafi to a rap event so she can see how young people of his generation have fun. Later in the taxi, she asks him to take her to his place. She wants to see his apartment, but since Dave lives with his grandparents, it could be embarrassing. They try to sneak in quietly, but when Rafi discovers Dave lives with his grandparents, she can't help laughing, almost giving them away. Once in his room, Rafi finally gets to see some of Dave's paintings and realizes that he's actually very good. He could make money if he displayed them in a gallery. The next morning, Dave finds out that his grandparents have swapped houses for 2 weeks. They are going on vacation to Miami. Therefore, Dave needs to find somewhere else to live until his grandparents return. He tells his mother that he'll stay with Morris, since Morris offered to put him up for a while. But that afternoon, the first thing Rafi announces at the start of their therapy session is that she will be moving in with her new boyfriend, something Lisa definitely did not expect. Now that they are living together, Rafi and Dave spend even more time together, and they decide to go away for a weekend in the Hamptons with Rafi's co-workers. They have a great time there, and Dave finally meets his girlfriend's friends. They all adore him, except for Randall, who is clearly jealous. By using her friends' connections, Rafi introduces Dave to several gallery owners in the city, where they meet a woman who is attending with her daughter. Dave notices how much Rafi longs to be a mother by the look in her eyes, which scares him. He spends the next few days avoiding sleeping with Rafi, who can't help but feel frustrated. During her next therapy session, Lisa feels a bit relieved to hear that they're finally having problems. After that, she can't take it anymore and confesses to Rafi that Dave is her son, leaving Rafi feeling deeply betrayed. At home, Dave initially takes the situation lightly in front of Rafi, but when he's alone with his mother, he lets her know how betrayed he feels by her actions. Now that the secret is out, the couple can't stop arguing, causing Dave to have no choice but to stay at Morris's place for a few days. Soon after, Rafi finally opens up to Dave and confesses that she wants to become a mother more than anything in the world. And he is still too young for that responsibility, so it's best for them to break up and go their separate ways. Lisa, who has completely lost control of the situation, can't believe how things turned out. She kept the secret to allow Rafi to be happy, and now Dave's immaturity has ruined their relationship, and Rafi has broken her son's heart. Days go by, and the protagonists can only miss each other. However, they are too proud and stubborn to get in contact. As a way to cheer him up, Morris takes Dave to a nightclub, but Dave just sits there ignoring the beautiful women, thinking about Rafi. After a few drinks, he finally does what any young guy would do and ends up having fun, only to feel terrible the next morning for betraying Rafi in his mind. Later, he runs into her at the supermarket, and the passion returns, causing them both to decide to leave the past behind and give themselves fully to each other again. Now that they have decided to stay together, there is only one thing left to fix: Dave's family's approval, since they are very strict in their traditions. The family behaves as well as they can, and Dave surprises them with the news that, thanks to Rafi, he has sold several paintings and now can have a stable future with his art career. The dinner ends on a high note. Unfortunately, the next morning at work, one of Rafi's co-workers tells her that she saw Dave leaving the nightclub with a woman. So Rafi questions him, and Dave, unable to lie to her, confesses his slip-up. Several days go by, and in despair, Dave turns to his mother for advice. She tells him that love means trust, letting yourself be vulnerable with the other person, and hoping they won't betray you. And that's exactly what he did to Rafi. Hearing this, Dave realizes the enormity of his mistake and opens his heart to Rafi, who sees sincerity and deep love in his eyes. She forgives him immediately. After that, they spend the entire night together, until Rafi confesses that even though they love each other deeply, Dave is not ready to be a father, and that's her next step in life. A year goes by, and Dave is walking through the streets with Morris, telling him that he landed an art gallery show that promises to jumpstart his career as an artist. Suddenly, they walk into the restaurant where he had his first date with Rafi, and there she is, having dinner with her friends. Dave doesn't want to hurt her, so he quickly heads back out, but then he takes a moment to look at her through the window. Right then, Rafi looks toward the window and recognizes Dave. They lock eyes and remember the moments they shared before giving each other one final goodbye.